welcome to another YouTube video. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick ride through my local patch, which is Doxey Marshes. It's about 350 acres of wetlands with the River Sow running through it. It's managed by Staffordshire Wildlife Trust, and on the right day you can get some fantastic shots over here. So I'm just going to take a quick tour through, show you some of the sights that the marshes have to offer. Hopefully the weather will pick up a bit so I can get some nice backlit shots across the lake there. That's what I'm kind of hoping for today, but we'll take a ride through and see how it goes. I'm just going to wait here a little bit and see what I can do. Okay, so I've swapped positions. The light is much better here. It's getting more of the reflection that I want to get from the image. Just need to wait now for the birds to come and play. There we have one of the grebes that I was hoping to get. Not quite in position yet, but I'm just going to track him until he goes over into where the light is, and then I'll try and get some shots of him there. While we're waiting, just a little bit about the kit I'm using today. I've got my Canon 7D Mark II with a Sigma 150-600 Sports. I'm using the 7D today because I tried this last week with my 5D Mark III, and to be honest the autofocus wasn't quite up to what I wanted to get, so I'm swapping out and trying the 7D today. I'm also going to use, if necessary, I've got a 1.4 Sigma teleconverter here as well, just in case I need a little bit of extra reach. I'm not a big fan of teleconverters, but in the right circumstances they do have their uses, and this one is probably one of the better ones that I've used. Works well with both the Sigma and the Canon. You still have autofocus on it at around f8, but for the most part with teleconverters I do tend to drop back to manual because I find I get more accurate results. While we're waiting as well, I'll also talk a little bit about settings because everybody seems to love hearing about settings. Basically I tend to do them on the fly. What I'll do is I'll usually shoot wide open or as close as I can because I like the separation from the subject and the bokeh it produces. What I'll do then is I'll use auto ISO just to get a baseline reading of what the ISO should be. Then what I'll do is I'll set the ISO manually to whatever is closest and then adjust shutter speed up and down to get the look I want. So I mean, shutter speed can vary anything between 1/60th to 1/4000th. It really does depend on your circumstances. There's no settings, I suppose you could say. It's just a case of see what's appropriate for the situation. I say big fan of auto ISO though, just to get a baseline reading, but you can't rely on it all the time as well though, because it'll depend where you've put your meter, because sometimes it can overexpose, sometimes it can underexpose. If you shoot in RAW, which I usually do, that's not too big a problem because you can adjust it in Lightroom afterwards. Alright, I'm going to wait on that a sec now because we've got some birds that are going to be crossing the line of light that I want. Alright, this is what's called the octagonal hide because, well, it's an octagon. Over to your right there's a lake where you can quite often see some waders. Lapwings congregate there in season as well. There's a pool just in front of the hide where you'll quite often get ducks, grebes, smaller wading birds. It's quite a good spot for dragonflies in the summer as well, around the front. I'm not usually a big fan of hides, I prefer to keep mobile, but one of the main reasons I do come into this one and check it out is over the back there's some trees where you'll quite often get a buzzard or a heron perching, and that can sometimes make some nice shots. There doesn't seem to be an awful lot about at the moment, but I'm just going to sit for a few minutes and see if I can spot anything before moving on. I'm just going to stop off here now because there's a nice spot just over there where you quite often get a sedge warbler sitting on a nice little thin reed, and I'm hoping to get some nice blurred out shots of him with just the warbler and the reed in focus, and everything else nicely out of focus and blurred. I'm just going to set myself up with my tripod for this one now, so I've got a bit more stability on it, and hopefully I can shoot a little bit of video of the shot that I'm trying to get for you. I'm just going to move on over there now and see if he's in the spot that I am hoping he is. Okay, there we are. That is where I'm hoping the bird shows up. What I've done is I've just focused solely on the branch where I know that it favours. I'm shooting through the bushes to keep everything else nicely blurred and out of focus, and just hopefully just get the subject sharp. Now all I need to do is just wait for him to turn up. Well, there's the guy I want, but he's actually chosen a different place to perch. I'm hoping he'll come a little bit closer, but we'll see. What I think I'm going to do, he seems to be favouring that one quite a lot, so I'm going to pop the teleconverter on just to see if I can get a closer shot with him. I think that'll make quite a nice image with the, I think it's cow parsley in focus with the bird. Oh, this is pretty awesome. I've managed to get myself probably within about 10 or 15 feet of the warbler, and it's not disturbed by my presence at all. It's still happily singing along and flitting between the branches, so hopefully I'm going to get some nice shots of this one. The sun's starting to poke through as well, so the lighting should be quite nice for this one, so I'm going to get back to shooting and hopefully I'll get some nice shots. Oh, this is fantastic. Little guy there's totally not bothered by my presence, singing a little heart out. Hopefully getting some really good shots out of this. This to me is one of the best parts, when you can get in nice and close and you're not disturbing them, they're just going about their normal business. Well, that was an amazing little session with the Sedge Warbler there. I'm really happy with that one. Still singing his little heart out over there, but I'm going to call it a day on that one and move on, otherwise I'll probably stay here all day listening to it. But I'm going to take a ride through the rest of the marshes now and see what else I can find. There we got a little coot feeding amongst the vegetation there. I might try and see if I can get some shots of this guy here. Might be quite nice with the vegetation falling behind. Well, unfortunately, the pool that usually forms over there is now a reed bed, so I don't think there's going to be any wading birds in there. What I have noticed, so I've just done a quick scout round, there's quite a lot of insects and dragonflies, so what I'm going to do is get the macro lens out and see if I can capture some of those guys. What I'm going to use with the macro, I'm going to use my Sony body. It's a A7 Mark II with a Canon 100mm macro lens. I tend to use the Sony more for macro because I find it easier with the focus peaking to get the areas I want in focus. It just makes it a lot easier. Alright, let's see what I can find now. This is going to be a really awkward one to focus on, but it looks like you've got two dragonflies there mating on a spider's web, which is an interesting place to do your business, but let's see if I can get some shots of that. Right, I'm just going to try one last spot now, see what I can get. It's a nice secluded part of the marshes here, there's not many people come down here, so hopefully I'll see what I can get. There's quite often some birds just over on the fields over there, I'll see if I can get those, but what I'm mainly interested at the minute is see what I can get macro wise just along the riverbank here. Right, before I get started shooting, what I'm going to do is just going to share one of my little pet peeves with you, which is camera straps. I really don't like camera straps. I just find them a bit unwieldy and they tend to get in the way. So my solution, what I've done is, if you go on eBay or Amazon, you can buy these little keyring velcro things, and if you add a quick release clip to them, you can then attach them to the bottom of your camera either with a black rapid clip or just using a small piece of canvas around there. That clips on in place there. For the front of the lens, you get a piece of canvas webbing with what's called a cam lock clip on it. That can go around the front, tighten up, and you've got two quick release clips on your camera there. I tend to add the other clip to my bag because I don't tend to go anywhere else without my bag, and then all you need to do is simply clip it in place, and you've got your camera stowed, carried out of the way. You can walk, you can climb, you can ride your bike, and it tends to stay out of the way and nice and close to you. Big advantage is that all you need to do is just a quick clip there, and it can be up and ready to shoot in literally seconds. I always used to have trouble when bringing the strap up, you get it caught on something. With this it's almost instantaneous. I've been using systems like this for a couple of years now, and I've never ever had one fail on me. Doesn't mean it won't, but I'm quite confident to keep my camera up here. And also, if you've got your bag loaded, it gives a nice counterweight, so there's not much strain on your neck. That's my 2 pennies worth about camera straps and my solution. I'm going to go and see what I can find to photograph now. I think I'm going to call it a day now. Quite excited to get home and edit some of those shots that I've done. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.